If your Airbnb is hemorrhaging cash right now and you're thinking about selling it, do not do that until you have watched this video, because more than likely you can save your Airbnb. And even if you don't own an Airbnb and you're scared to buy one because you don't want to lose money, then you are definitely going to want to watch today's video where I break down my portfolio, the money that I've lost, and how I've turned failing Airbnbs around. And by the way, if you don't know who I am Rob Abasolo. I am one of the largest, if not the largest, creator of free short-term rental content on the internet. I am also the founder of hostcamp.com, the #1 short-term rental resource in the world, and I've got a community of over 3,000 thriving hosts. And even with all of that, the truth is I'm not a perfect investor. I make mistakes, but rather than hide them, I think there's more value in just putting them out there and show you exactly how I turn around failing Airbnbs, which is exactly what we're getting into today. So let's go. Today's presentation is called Designing ROI. This is a presentation that I kind of started last year, and I thought it was time to finish it. It was time to give you sort of the part two, the conclusion, the results of what this concept means. So the basic premise here is that, and James, funny enough, kind of alluded to it, stole my material, thanks James, but door count really doesn't matter. I mean, I've got 45 doors, maybe more, maybe less, but it's not about how many doors are in my portfolio. I think it's just a bit of a misconception. It's a cool thing to be proud of, and for a long time I was really proud of the fact that I had 40 plus doors. I'm like, I'm gonna double them, I'm gonna triple them, and that's all I really wanted. And then I just came to the realization that I think door count is sort of a vanity metric, just like followers or just like subscribers. In my personal journey, I'm so about like, how can I get more followers, how can I get more subscribers? But then when I actually look at my social content stats, it doesn't really matter, because I see that most views that I get are actually from non-subscribers or non-followers. And so it just makes me realize that there's a purpose behind everything that I do. And my content shouldn't be about followers or subscribers. It should be about providing quality content to people that have never seen it before. And I kind of relate that back to short-term rentals, because I think it's all about like, oh, door count, but it's a vanity metric. It's not about how many doors you have, it's about how much money you can make. And trust me, I'm all about scaling. I want everyone here to have 10 properties. I want everyone here to have 20 properties. But I think the problem for everyone that's looking to scale and kind of get to that next door is they're not really maximizing the actual profit, the actual revenue, the actual bottom line of their business before they go out and get their first short-term rental. Show of hands here, how many people bought their first short-term rental? Let's say it was 10, 15, 20, 25% down, operated it for a year, saved up $15,000 to, let's say, $50,000, and found out that that wasn't really enough to buy their next short-term rental, and found themselves stuck and said, wow, I don't have enough money to actually buy another short-term rental. Anyone ever feel that way? Has anyone ever like gone through that process? Because I think that is the pain that short-term rental hosts feel going from 1 to 2 to 3. It's not easy to save up 20%. 25%. If you talk about like a $400,000 house, we're talking about saving up $80,000 to $100,000. If you make $50,000 to $150,000, it really doesn't matter. Saving up $100,000 is freaking hard. Like, it takes a lot of work. You have to go and actively make income to save that money, because it's probably not gonna come from your W-2 job. So my goal is to show you that your current portfolio that you're operating, or if you're looking to even get into your first property, is an untapped gold mine. There's so much potential in the doors that you already own. So before anyone here buys another property, I want y'all to look at the current properties that you have and ask yourself, how can I make more money? So in today's presentation, I'm gonna show you exactly what I've been doing, projects, experiments, things that necessarily didn't have data behind them, but it's my job as an educator, it's my job as your mentor to do these things and see if they work. And if they do, I talk about it on YouTube. And if they don't, I talk about it on YouTube. I don't care. Like, for me, I just like pulling levers and reporting back to you, because it's my job to help y'all make more money. So let's get down to the basics here. Let's break down what it means to actually make money in a short-term rental, okay? So cash on cash return, what is that? That is our golden metric. It's annual before tax cash flow over total cash invested. So let me break that down for you. If you invest $100,000 into a property and you make, after all of your expenses, $20,000, what's your cash on cash? 20%. You would divide $20,000 into $100,000. You have a 20% cash on cash return. That has been the gold standard for a very long time. And back when interest rates were 2, 3, 4, 5%, getting a 20% cash on cash return was easy. Getting a 30 or 40% cash on cash was super easy because interest rates were really, really low. And this has been what a lot of us have been chasing for a long time. You know, rates have gone up, the game has changed a little bit, and so we're all just trying to get that 20%, but you have to understand when you go to a bank, it might be oh my God, it might be a 10% cash on cash return. Oh, dang. That's standard. You know, that's a really good return. A 10% cash on cash return is actually pretty insane in the investing world, but we all want that 20%. And I think it's gotten harder over the last year because I think the game has changed. We've become a more experienced and amenity-driven industry. And you do have to tweak your portfolio a little bit to really kind of stand out and start making more money. So this whole idea has got me thinking, how do I actually increase the revenue in my portfolio, AKA, how do I increase the profitability? I mean, if you think about the numbers of a single family home, let's say that you have a $400,000 house. Let's say that the gross revenue is $50,000 per year, and let's say that your profit on that $50,000 is $5,000. Well, what if you could increase the revenue of that same property by 10%? You now go from $50,000 a year to $55,000 a year. Doesn't really sound all that impressive, right? It's like, oh, good for you. You increased your revenue by $5,000. But what most people fail to realize is that increasing your revenue by $5,000, if you're already profitable on that property, then the majority of that revenue goes straight to your bottom line, AKA your profit. So if you have a $50,000 grosser, you increase it to $55,000, you've taken your profit from $5,000 to $10,000, which is a 100% ROI on that investment, on whatever it is it takes you to increase your revenue. And I don't know about y'all, but I think 100% ROI is pretty damn good. It's not bad, right? But no, we should go buy another property and try to make 10 to 15%, right? Why would we do that? So I'm asking myself consistently, can I invest $10,000 back into my property and can I increase my revenue by $5,000? I mean, it's a small experiment and it's a hell of a lot cheaper than buying a new house, right? And it's way easier than setting up a new house. I mean, think about the actual heartache and heartbreak. I mean, I have HostCon this week, welcome, and last week I was busy moving into a new house, setting up an Airbnb, moving out of my primary house, emptying that so I could set it up to an Airbnb. I got to find cleaners, I've had to coordinate with pest control, a landscaper, I've had to get new utilities set up, I've had to work with my design team, my awesome design team, Funkit. Like, there's a lot of work. That's just to like get it launched, and then it's actually perfecting it and taking photographs and then setting the automations and then getting the dream team on board and letting some go and hiring others. I mean, it is a lot of work to set up just one Airbnb. It's not hard, but it's hard work, right? And I could do that, or I could just invest $10,000 into my current property and try to make $5,000 more. You know, it's just so much easier. And I want y'all to understand that, like doing these little $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 investments into your properties, so much easier than buying a new property. And I'm not saying don't buy a property. I'm just saying turn over the stones before you go down that route. So this whole idea, this whole kind of revelation I had, it started with this little sport called pickleball. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you know I love playing. I'm not good at pickleball, but it is the one, I'm not athletic at all. Like 0%. And people are always like, oh no, I'm sure you're pretty good. And then I'm like, all right. And then I shoot like a basketball in the basket. And then they're like, oh, yeah, you are bad. I'm like, yeah. So that's how I am on all sports. Pickleball is a fast growing sport because it's like the one sport where you can kind of be unathletic and still hold your own against people that are athletic. And it's great. Like, I'm like, I feel at home. It's my people. And I think that's why it kind of hits with a lot of the millennial demographics and a lot of the people out there. So I have this property out in Scottsdale. I'm sure some of you have seen it. Actually, this photograph was taken by Eric Barkhurst. Are you in the room, Eric? I know you're in the back. Okay, everybody look at Eric raising his hand and laugh at him. Just kidding. Eric is the best photographer, the best Airbnb photographer in the country. So you guys should definitely go connect with him. And fun little story is, Eric came out to my property from LA. He flew out to me, and we retook this photo. All the lighting on the previous photos, by the way, kind of looked like this. And wasn't really crushing it the way I thought. Eric comes out, takes this photo, within 24 hours, I get $18,000 in reservations. In 24 hours. It's kind of crazy, right? So think about the math there. I didn't have to go buy a property to make $18,000. I had to coordinate with the photographer, pay travel, pay the photography fee. I mean, let's just say max here, $2,000. Would anyone here invest $2,000 to make an $18,000 return? It's not bad, right? It's the easiest way that you can increase the revenue on your property. And somehow, I'm not gonna point y'all out, but there are definitely people in this room that still take cell phone photos, and I will find you, and I will come for you. And I've got a very special set of skills. Anyways, tangent, ADHD. All right, Scottsdale, we're back. So the problem with this property is it's an amazing property. It was a $3.25 million property. And it was sort of like my, what is it called? My magnum opus. I was like, this is the one. I'm gonna make so much money from this property. And what actually ended up happening was I was grossing $13,756. You can see that, November through November 2022. And people would say like, well, hey, I mean, that's kind of a lot of money, right? And I'm like, well, the expenses on that property are $20,000. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of a lot of money if you're making it, but if you're losing, it's a lot of money to lose, right? Like $7,000, not an easy thing. And I'm like, well, damn, is it over? Like, am I a sham? What's going on here? And I'm just like, there's just no way that this magnificent property can be tanking so bad. So I actually started kind of diving deeper into the comps. And this is really when I think the game started to change a little bit. And I realized that a lot of these homes were booked like solid into the future. But their house is kind of like the actual architecture of the home was like, meh. It wasn't really that nice. We had some modern homes, we had some old homes. Like, I wasn't impressed, and I just could not understand why these hosts were just like eating my lunch. And you start to click through and you start seeing pools and golden hour shots and pickleball and bowling alleys and on-site like golf simulators, like all that stuff. And I was just like, oh, got it. I see. I think I'm understanding why I'm not making money. So the lesson here is architecture's cool. It's great. Like a beautiful home is awesome, but it's only going to get you so far. It's meaningless without the amenities to turn that architecture into an experience. So we bought this property, and when we bought it, we had this dilapidated tennis court that you see right here. And I was like, okay, well, let's invest some money into it. And my partner on it was like, well, hey, let's make some money first, and when we make the money, we'll do the pickleball courts. And I was like, sounds good. We never made the money. And I was like, oh shit, what are we gonna do? And I was just like, I can't have a failure in my portfolio. And I was like, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to fix it. So I begged and I said, look, let me just pay 20 grand to do this, and I promise it's gonna work out. He's like, all right, just do it, just shut up, stop talking about pickleball. I was like, great. So I spent $22,000 to resurface that into that. So I don't know who would stay here, but I know a lot of people that would stay here. It was actually a pretty night and day difference. Total investment, $22,000. And the results have actually been really, honestly, pretty mind-blowing. So if you look at my November revenue that I showed you, we grossed $13,764 pre-pickleball. But 1 year later, post-pickleball, the same month, we did $37,249. Kind of a big difference, right? Yeah, I like this. So the question was, well, is that an anomaly? Can I do that over and over and over again? But just that one single month was an increase of $25,676. And the ROI on that is 116% on just 1 month on that investment. Not bad. Wheels are turning. Everyone in here is like looking up pickleball contractor in Casa Mesa, Arizona. So this was the revenue for December, the next month of 2022. And post pickleball, it increased to $19,376 or $34. Okay, small increase, not as big as November, but I'll take it. And then we get into the actual hot season of Scottsdale, like the, not hot temperature-wise, but you know, like peak season. And 2 years ago, we did 96.40. I lost $10,000 that month. It's kind of painful, right? Like it's like, I mean, no matter who you are, where you are in your financial journey, losing $10,000 kind of sucks. Well, 1 year later, we did $37,000. And in March of 2022, we did $13,600. 1 year later, post pickleball, we did $33,000, and then we did $9,000 in direct, so we did about $42,000. We increased our revenue A lot, $40,000, something like that. And then in April, $18,678. 1 year later, post pickleball, about $34,000. So the interesting thing is, real estate isn't just about the cash flow. I mean, you'll hear me talk about this. If you get a cost segregation report and you actually do the short-term rental loophole, you can save a lot of money in taxes. And so while the cash flow problem wasn't great, this property actually lowered my income taxes by $600,000. If you're not aware of how that works, how the short-term rental loophole works, you should definitely go talk to Matt Bontrager and the TrueBook CPA team. I work with them quite a bit. I do tax planning and strategy with them on my portfolio every single year. They say, hey, buy these properties. It will lower your taxes by this amount. And you can kind of play this game where people just go to H&R Block and get their tax return done, but that's like 1% of it. The other 99% is planning and strategy, and you want a good CPA that can do that. And Matt and TrueBooks have actually helped me save a lot of money. That year, I was gonna have a massive tax bill, and this property lowered it by $600,000. That's pretty significant. So from that standpoint, it was kind of holding me over because it felt like I was doing $60,000 in cash flow every single month on that first year. And even then, if we fast forward a little bit, as I said, I bought this property for $3.225 million, and about 2 years later, it's gone up to $4.6 million. Now, I will say, Zillow, take it with a grain of salt. I actually called my realtor and I said, is this true? And he was like, let me run some comps. And he's like, we could sell it for $4.3 million. So you have to understand when you get into the real estate game, there's a little bit more to it than the cash flow. We're all here to make cash flow, but between tax savings, between appreciation, I'm actually okay on this property. I could sell it right now. My partner and I would pocket $1 million. Doesn't matter though, I still want to increase revenue, right? Because I've already got a home run, but if I can make it a grand slam, how can I do that? How can I spend more money on this property? I've got so many plans for this property. The Funkit team is gonna go out to this property and we're gonna transform it. And I wanna know, okay, pickleball just increased revenue by like $100,000 plus in that first month. Can other amenities, can other things drive that up to an extra $200,000? And my hypothesis, and based on the data, the answer is yes, because there are other people doing it right now. So with all that said, I am on a mission to polish my entire portfolio now. This is very important to me. All I want now is to attack every single property with the same problem-solving ability. I want to increase the revenue on my 40 doors. As a matter of fact, controversial take, I actually want to sell properties. I want to get rid of profitable properties because there are no ways on some of my properties to really increase the revenue. Like, maybe they make $1,000 a month, cool, but could I take some of that appreciation, that 50,000 bucks, if I were to sell that property and toss it into one of these other 39 plus properties and get 100% ROI? So I think y'all should really focus, if you have a big portfolio, if you're growing, ask yourself, what can I triage for my current portfolio, and how can I take those funds and invest it back in? Most people say, how do I take the funds and invest it into another short-term rental or another property? It's not wrong, it's not right, it all comes down to what's right for you. But for me, having 40 doors is sounded cool, but it's actually not, because they're all over the country, and I'm like, all right, well, I've got these successes now that I can say, oh, well, I'm just gonna do more of these Scottsdale type properties. And some of the properties that we're gonna talk about. Hey, really quick, if you're enjoying today's free content, then guess what? There's a whole lot more free content over on hostcamp.com. I've got free courses over there, guides, analytic tools, templates, lists, things that most people usually charge for, 100% free. And if you want access to any of them, you can click any of the links down below or head on over to hostcamp.com. But I do have one request. Because it's all free, maybe consider hitting the like and subscribe button so that more people can see my content and get access to the free stuff. Deal? All right, back to today's video. So let's get into sort of some of the other properties that maybe might be a little bit more realistic, because I understand that a mansion in Scottsdale, not something that we're all doing every single day. So Bryan, Texas, home of A&M, it's College Station, and I've got a short-term rental out there, and it's kind of funny because I went to UT, I'm a Longhorn, University of Texas. It is the #1 public school in the country, many years in a row, but a lot of people will say, why did you buy a property in College Station? I don't understand that. You're a Longhorn, how dare you? And I'm like, yeah, but Aggies pay me money, it's great. And so we bought this property. It was a $250,000 property. And this is how we set it up. You see that second cowboy pool in the back? They sent us an extra one. And the photographer just took we were like, hey, can you move it? He was like, yeah, for sure. And then like this is the photo he sent. I was like, great. We don't even have the second one. It's not even there anymore. We returned it. And it's an okay property. We've got some golden hour-ish, some string lights. It's kind of what I talk about. But at the end of the day, it wasn't like a winner. It was making some money, but not enough for me to be like, yeah, this is like, I'm really glad I bought this. Remember I said things usually work out? Well, that property wasn't. But now, years later, I can say, yeah, that one did work out because I did the work to make it work out, right? That's kind of the key component here is like, how can you consistently put in work into your property? A lot of hosts get into this and they get to the 90% mark, and then the other 10%, that's the follow-up that no one ever does. Hey, I'll come back and reinvest. I'll go and do that cool thing once I start making money, and then no one ever actually does it. And then they complain that they're not making enough money. And that's kind of what was happening here. I think my partner and I, we bought this property and we're just like, dude, it's just like, what's going on? Like, it's a 5-bedroom house in a college town. Why aren't we making more money? And then you kind of look at the backyard and the photos in the Airbnb listing. This is a Robuilt listing. Like, I'm ashamed to show this to you, but hey, I talk about the hard stuff, right? Not everything in my portfolio is great, but at least I can get out in front of it and admit it, right? But this was the property, and it was fine. But I knew there was potential because I looked at the comps and I was like, all right, there's more money to be made here. So I hired one of my students, one of my rock star students, Bella. Where are you at? Yep, right over there. Bella, front row. Of course, you're front row. She's just a rock star. And I said, hey, we're going to be revamping this property. I need your help. And she was like, you got this. Like, I got this. Like, let me come out. Let me do a mural. So we kind of changed the theme of this property to be the game day house. It's a college town after all. Why wouldn't we do that? And Bella created this amazing mural here that paid homage, unfortunately, to Aggies. And we have the Aggie dog. I don't even know what it's called, but it says gig 'em, howdy. But it does hit, right? Like if you're an A&M person, you're like, heck yeah. Like that's the place that I want to stay. Now a lot of people say, well, aren't you scared that you're like creating party homes in a college town? And actually the demographic at this property are families that are coming into town to come visit their kids, or alumni that are coming back to College Station to watch a football game. So it's actually less parties than you'd think. And then we did this. You guys know I like pickleball, right? Like we added this pickleball court, and we completely changed the vibe of this property. The game day house, the game day mural. They can actually watch sports in there. We have a pool table. There's actually something to do on the outside of the house because the inside of the house was mid. It was not great. It was actually, it's fine. It's like, it was fine for the 2020, 2021 era where you could go to World Market, Target, IKEA, make something look cute, but then it's like people go outside. You guys have been outside in Texas. It's not a great thing. So if we're gonna make people go outside and sweat, let's give them an experience and actually like let them sweat and drink and have fun and do it, right? So we put this fire pit. In total, I would say this investment cost about $35,000. I think the pickleball court and a lot of that shed was like this old broken down janky shed. And so our idea was if we can kind of open it up and put drywall and fix it up, we could actually turn it into a pretty special shed. Actually, Giordano, are you in here? Yeah, in the back. Okay, Giordano, amazing contractor. He actually did all of this for us, and he helped us transform this property. So if y'all have in Austin, Houston, he's even gone out to Crystal Beach for me and built a mini golf course. Hit up Giordano. His team is super awesome and reliable. But this whole transformation, furniture, $36,000, and it's been pretty awesome. Like it's been interesting to kind of see the levers and pulling them and how it actually works. So I want to show you some of the results for this property. So before all of this, pre-pickleball and game day, in June of 2023, like a year ago, we did $35.79 in revenue. All right, like I said, mid, right? 1 year later, we did $5,438. And then you can actually see that like the accommodation fee is higher on that. So we actually made more money, significantly, like $2,000-3,000 that month. And remember, like we're already hosting people. So the biggest expense we have is cleaning. We already are paying the cleaner, so just hosting more people at a more expensive rate doesn't mean that we have more costs. We actually have more profit as a result. In July of 2023, pre-pickleball, $4,600, $19. 1 year later, $6,800. It's a pretty decent, like, $2,000 a month extra. It's what we're trying to do. When we buy a short-term rental, we're trying to make an extra $2,000 a month. And it's really hard to do that with just one property sometimes. But I did it on a property that I already had, and it didn't cost me all that much. And then in August of 2023, $4,400, and 1 year later, $5,300. We made an extra $1,000. However, you can see, actually we hosted more people last year, so the cleaning fee was $925. This year, $555, so we actually made $1,500 more. So it's not like, I wish it was as cool as like a pickleball court that increases your revenue by $40,000, but this is the sort of the everyday house, right? $4,300 last November. We haven't even gotten to November yet. We're at $5,400 already in pre-bookings. And then last year, we did $46,714, and 1 year later, we haven't finished the year out yet, and we've already matched the revenue from last year. And I still have 5 more months in the year to crush that number. So my hypothesis here is in this first year, we will probably do an extra $15,000 to $20,000. And there's still so many things. I know that backyard might look cool, but there's a lot of things that like I showed Blue, my partner at Funkin', he goes, oh yeah, you could do this and this. I'm like, dude, just enjoy the photo. But he was right. There's so many things to the experience that I didn't even think about. Let me just pull this up, because it's a cool backyard, but what I didn't see and what the type of stuff that Funkit points out to me, I'm always like, oh yeah, that does make sense. Cool backyard, but look at that fence, right? And we wanted to save money, and we're like, nah, it's cool. Like Giordano was like, let me power wash it and stain it. And we're like, nah, it's the pickleball court's gonna like really sell. And then you kind of see the new fence in the corner back there, and it's like, damn it, why didn't I just spend $2,000 on a new fence? And like $2,000 for Bridget to come out and do a mural. Like, why didn't I do that? Because we could be making so much more money now, right? So that's the project. I'm not done. Most people would do that and be like, I'm done, I'm making an extra $2,000. I am never done. You are never done. And if you ever feel like you're done, you're in the wrong industry. There's always more work to be done at your properties, okay? So that's the revenue. Let me take you to my favorite property, Austin, Texas. It is home to some pretty top tier design. And one of the things that I learned here as I scaled is I gotta hire a pro. I gotta hire a mentor in the design space to actually make me pop. And so I met Bridget a couple of years ago, virtually on Instagram. And it's Bridget Bitch on Instagram, say hi. She's wearing the pink blazer. We've got the booth back there. She loves to chat with y'all. I hired her, and I just could see that there was something about her design that I could never do. And so I was like, wow, that looks pretty cool. What if I did that? So I thought she could bring my creative vision to life. And I remember I went to her and I said, hey, Bridget, all right, I've got this idea. I want it to be colorful Beetlejuice. And I have this idea for abstract things and this and bold colors. We're gonna make it funky and we're gonna make it Austin. And she goes, I don't know what that means. And I was like, okay. Well, and I explained it again. She goes, we're not gonna do that. She's like, we're gonna do a pink house. And I was like, okay. And so I was like, sure. She's like, would you be open to it? I was like, I guess. I don't feel like I have a choice here. But I learned that, I was like, let me out of your basement. And I learned you gotta listen to a pro, right? If you hire a pro, and I think this is kind of the problem is like, sometimes we hire a pro or we like talk to someone in the business and we ask them for all this business advice. And we're like, how do I do this? And then they tell you, and then you're like, all right, that's cool, I'm gonna do my thing, but I'll maybe try that. It's like what a lot of us do. Even at Funkit, we have clients that they're like, I love Funkit, here's what we're gonna do. And then we're like, here it is. And they're like, can we make it more gray? And it's like, you came to the wrong place, bub, right? And so for me, I just kind of learned, I'm like, I gotta let go if I really wanna scale and trust people that are better than me to execute this vision. And what she showed me was that there was actually data and reasoning and insight behind why I was doing this or why she was choosing this direction. She showed me that no one was actually appealing at that time to the bachelor party demographic. And she helped me realize that if you market to everyone, you market to no one. And so from that moment on, she was like, it's a top 10 city, no one's doing this, we can kill this. And I was like, fine, we'll do it pink. And we got to the point where she kept buying things and I was like, let's paint it pink. And so like everything in the house is pink. And she started to kind of mood board what this property would be. And you can kind of see it's like pretty cool, but I think the cool part is it's actually what it looked like. You know, the mood boards are actually exactly what she pitched me. And this is the idea of seeing a dream come to life, seeing a vision come to fruition. Here's more of her mood boards. Here's where we're at. It's like kind of crazy, lucky you. Giddy up. Things that I never say, but I like it. I think it works. And then she pitched me on a dinosaur. And she was driving on a highway and saw a giant dinosaur with blue, and they're like, let's buy it. She's like, you want a dinosaur? I was like, only if we paint it pink. And now that makes its way into, a lot of the tagged posts that I'm on, and it's about creating these Instagrammable moments, right? We didn't just go pink, we went experiential. We wanted to create an Airbnb that bachelorettes would remember for the rest of their life. As a matter of fact, we call this property the Pink Pickle, because bachelorette parties, they're bachelorette parties, and there's a pickleball court, and so we just kind of wanted to merge the names of kind of the theme and like what this property was. And so we actually did like a pink pickleball court. And I think a lot of people see this and they're scared to take this on themselves, and they're like, oh man, I don't know if I could ever do this. But our design process is sometimes easier than you think. You go to Pinterest and you just start pinning things that you like. You start creating mood boards and vision boards of what this property could be, and this is sort of that initial concepting phase. So I promise that you guys have it in you to do this type of stuff. But if you don't, you can always hit us up at Funkit Interiors. That's our Instagram. We post all of our clients there. We've had some clients with great success. Bridget will talk about that tomorrow. But to me, I just kind of understood that there's this gap in Airbnb, and right now everyone's struggling to make more money, and I'm like, it's actually not that much of a struggle. All you really got to do is do this kind of stuff, right? Design. And so it got to the point where we decided to launch Funkit. I'm so passionate about helping people make more money that I'm like, let's start a design company where we do just that. And so we focus on these experiences, and the results speak for themselves, right? We book the Pink Pickle out at $12.99 on weekends. Sometimes people see this calendar. It's so funny. People will be on my YouTube channel and they'll be like, he teaches all this stuff, but his calendars are wide open. Scammer. But it's like $12.99 a night. Bachelorettes aren't coming to party on a Monday. Not usually. Every single one of my bookings are Thursday through Friday, 3-night minimum, $12.99 a night. And as you can see, I only missed that $4.99 weekend. You'll see some that don't have the Airbnb ticker on them, but there's like the little cross over the date. That means we booked it direct. So the $4.99 up there we missed. I was like pretty annoyed about that. But every single weekend outside of that is booked for $12.99. The cool thing is, to run this property, I think it was going to cost $60,000 to just break even on the property. Well, we did that many months ago. So like literally every single reservation I get from the Pink Pickle is like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in literal profit that goes to me. Like I've covered my expenses. So every time I get a notification from Airbnb that's like Pink Pickle request, I'm like, yes, I just made $5,000. And now I do that every weekend. Every time a weekend books, I'm like, I did it, Mom, I told you. I'm just kidding, my parents are very supportive. But yeah, every single weekend. And then in September, we have one open here. We've dropped rates. I just want to book it up because I'm vain and I want every weekend to book. But one of the things you'll see here is the house on the left is the Pink Pickle. The house on the right is a house down the road that looks pretty identical, like not that many differentiators, right? Well, that house is making $55,000 a year. And that's kind of what I thought this property was going to make when I bought it. It's a creative finance property. I thought I was going to do between 45 to 55. Well, I nailed it. That property does $55,000. Boring home, boring furniture, boring everything. Well, so far, we're not even through the year yet. I've booked $87,970 for the Pink Pickle in 2024. I launched it in March, so I've only been operational for 6 months, and I have another 6 months to make more money. Now, if I can crack the social blueprint, the direct bookings on this, the social media, the virality that Bridget has been able to accomplish with this property has the potential to make $202,000. My expenses are $60,000. It's $140,000. I'm going to be making $11,000 a month on one property. Guys, that property, by the way, $440,000. I make more on that property than I do on the Scottsdale property. Isn't that crazy? So no, you don't have to go buy a $2, $3, $4 million house. You can accomplish what I've done with a $440,000 house. That's a pretty, you could do it with a $300,000 house. That Brian house that I showed you, it's a $250,000 house. We bought, the interest rate on that, by the way, is like a 7.5%. Okay? So we didn't get this when it was good and when interest rates were 3.5%. I got it at 7.5%. So no excuses here. It's out there. The data is out there. And sometimes you have to be a data pioneer, and that's what we were at Funkit for the pink pickle. The comps didn't really exist. I'm like, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to create something. And it worked. So final little lesson here. If you're not a visual person, I'm a copywriter by trade, meaning I don't do images and visuals very well. And I use ChatGPT, like upgrade to the Pro, I think it's $19 a month. Absolutely worth it. Here's how I use it. Here's how you can use it to boost up your backyard experiences. I put this prompt in and I said, I'd like to build a dope fire pit setup with 5 Adirondack chairs around the fire pit with a nice pine fence behind the chairs. I have typos even in ChatGPT, it gets it. I made this. And I was like, okay. It was like, that's not exactly what I wanted. I said, can you add string lines and make the setup a little more vibey? This is for a cool Airbnb. It made that. And I kept giving it edits. And I said, okay, this is getting close. Can you add a neon sign that says howdy to boost the vibes? Okay, did it again. And I said, hey, that space is too big. It's actually a smaller nook. And I'm not going to have those plants. Can you remove those? And it did it. And that's exactly what I had in my mind whenever I created, the fire pit setup at Bryant. So I guess ultimately, like, you don't have to be a designer to do this. You can have this ChatGPT tool help you, and then you give it to the people to actually execute. Did the same thing with Joshua Tree. I said, hey, I'm going to build a hot tub fire tower in my backyard. Can you make that for me? He was like, absolutely. And it's so cool because it's helped me defy the laws of physics by not actually having anything supporting that roof. And I was like, wow, ChatGPT's doing it. That's crazy what they're coming out with these days. Invest in ChatGPT. I gave it some edits. I said, can you make it cooler, more deserty? It created this. And I said, can you make it more modern? And I want to be able to see the stars from atop. It did this. And I said, I want it even more modern than that. Here's some notes, blah, 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 blah. And then it gave me that. Oh, I said I wanted a pool at the base. That's what it was. It's very funny to me because I've posted these photos occasionally on stories, and I'll have people that are like, dude, I just paid my architect $1,500 to make a render of that. And I'm like, ChatGPT, baby. It's great. And it's kind of cool because I've talked about this treehouse deck in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and I actually did pay a project manager, designer type of person $750 to draw it out for me, and that was the final product, which is really cool, right? Like, I love what I was able to create in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Moral of the story is I spent $750 out of curiosity. The other day I went into ChatGPT and I said, can you build me a treehouse deck in the Smoky Mountains? And that's what it gave me. So $750, $19 a month. It's not bad. Here's kind of what it looked like, when we were concepting it, and I had to give a ton of feedback, and it's just like, it's not that hard to take matters into your own hands sometimes, and it would have been 1,000 times easier to just hand them this and say, hey, make that. Would have cost me a lot less too. And you don't have to be good at drawing. This is how all of my ideas start. Every thumbnail on the Robuilt channel looks like that, and I say, Caleb, make that. And he's like, great, thank you. Thank you for that. And I think the cool thing is that you can even use ChatGPT for things like, the other day I was trying to order pizza, and I was like, hey, are 4 medium pizzas more pizza than a large 3 pizza? And it actually broke it down by square footage, and it was like, yeah, 4 medium pizzas are 452 square inches, 3 pizzas are 462 square inches, so 3 larges are slightly larger. And I was like, what about 5 medium? And it said, in this case, 5 medium pizzas would give you significantly more pizza. I use it for everything, and you'd be surprised, even at the Airbnb stuff that you type in, and now I'm to this point where I'm like, AI, design, what can I do to actually build this out? And so I'm working on hostcamp.com. I think a lot of you guys have heard about this, but I'm working on an AI chatbot that takes everything I've ever said, the transcript, and putting it into a Rob bot of sorts, and you'll be able to sort of chat with the AI version of myself, and I guess I will too. When I get lonely, I'll talk to myself. But it's really cool. ChatGPT is a powerful, powerful tool, okay? And I got one final lesson, and then we'll kind of get on to the next agenda item here, but document everything. I take photos of everything that I ever did. I didn't know that I'd ever use this photo, but take photos of everything you do, because you will find investors, you will find capital partners that want to invest in your projects when you actually post your progress, your journey, your failures, your victories online. And I mean document everything, every little thing, the asbestos that you smell and the charcoal chimneys. You never know when you're gonna use it because one day you might be telling your story to millions of people on the internet. And that, my friends, is how you turn around failing Airbnbs. Now, I talked about the Pink Pickle, my bachelorette party property in Austin, Texas, earlier in the presentation. And if you're interested in learning more about that property, I actually have a whole video that you can check out right here that shows the before and after transformation of the coolest Airbnb in Austin, Texas. So go click it. Hit like and subscribe too, but go click it.